In this video, we will practice solving problems involving similar triangles and midsegments. So problem number 1, the measure of angle ADF is 48 degrees. So let's see, ADF. So this is 48 degrees right here. The measure of angle A is 62 degrees. So I'll put a 62 right here. And we're being asked to find the measure of angle CFD. Okay, CFD. That's this angle right here. Okay, well, we know that the angles inside of a triangle have to add up to 180 degrees. So if I take 180 degrees minus 62 minus 48, that leaves 70 degrees. So that tells me that this angle right here is 70 degrees. Now, I see a linear pair right here. See this green mark that I'm making? This is a straight line. That tells me that these two angles have to add up to 180. So if I subtract 70 from 180, that's going to leave 110 degrees. So that's got to be the measure of angle CFD, 110 degrees. All right, problem number 2. FC is 3x plus 6. Okay, so FC, that's right here. That is going to be 3x plus 6. DE is 5x minus 14. So this is DE, which is 5x minus 14. Okay, now, we are told that DE and F are midpoints. So that makes DE a midsegment, because a segment that connects midpoints is a midsegment. And we have learned that a midsegment is half the length of the other side. So DE should be half the length of AC. But guess what? Because F is a midpoint, FC is also half the length of AC. So since both of these are half the length of AC, then they must be congruent to each other. So that's why we can make the equation 5x minus 14 must equal 3x plus 6. If you subtract 3x from both sides, you get 2x minus 14 is equal to 6. If you add 14 to both sides, you get 2x is equal to 20. And then if you divide both sides by 2, you get x is equal to 10. Okay. Let's start over for problem number 3. DF is 2x plus 6. Okay, so here's DF, and this is 2x plus 6 right there. And then BC is 3x minus 16. Okay, so BC is all of this. So BC is 13x minus 16. Now, we have a midsegment and the parallel side. We have learned that the midsegment is half the length of the parallel side. In other words, if I double the midsegment, it should equal the parallel side. And that's what I'm going to do right now. If I double the midsegment, so 2 times 2x plus 6, that should equal the parallel side, 13x minus 16. So after the distributive property, we have 4x plus 12 is equal to 13x minus 16. I think I will subtract 4x from both sides so I can keep the x terms positive for a little while. So then I'll have 12 is equal to 9x minus 16. And then I would add 16 to both sides. Okay, so that's going to give me 28 is equal to 9x. Now 9 does not go evenly into 28, but that's okay. Okay, I'm going to leave this as a fraction because I'm getting a decimal that kind of goes off the screen. So I'm just going to leave it like this. So x is 28 ninths. Okay, new picture. All right, we're given this similarity statement. So triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEC. That means that angle A is congruent to angle D, and angle B is congruent to angle E, and of course angle C is congruent to angle C. So just keep that in mind. Now, AB is 16. So this is 16. DE is 35. So this is 35. BC is 8. So this is 8. We're supposed to find CE. So I'm going to call that X. So let's talk about corresponding sides. So side AB corresponds to side ED. If it weren't totally obvious, I could look at the markings, and I see the single and the double, and I see the single and the double. So those are definitely corresponding. Okay. Similarly, 8 and X are corresponding sides. Double, triple, double, triple. All right, these are corresponding. Now, I need to pick one of these triangles to be the new triangle and one of them to be the old triangle. It doesn't really matter which. So I'm gonna call this the old triangle, and I will call this the new triangle. And that's just because when I make my ratios, whether it's scale factor or whatever I'm doing, I always like to do new over old. And if I'm making a proportion, I will do that twice. New over old is equal to new over old. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to pick a pair of corresponding sides, like 8 and X. But I'm going to do new over old. So I'm going to do X over 8. And that should equal. And now I'll pick another pair of corresponding sides and do new over old. So this will be 35 over 16. And then we have to cross multiply. So looking at this diagonal and this diagonal, all right, that's going to give me 16x from the yellow diagonal equals. And now I need to do 8 times 35. So that's 280. And then we divide both sides by 16. $17.5. For number 5, we're told that angle B is 80. So that tells me that this angle right here is 80, which automatically means that angle E is 80. We're told that BCA is 58. So BCA, so this angle right here is 58, which automatically means that this angle is also 58. And that just leaves the other angles, angle A and angle D. Well, all of the angles in a triangle have to add up to 180. So if I start with 180 and I subtract these two angles, that should leave angle D. So minus 58 minus 80. So that's 42. Okay, it should say 42 degrees. And then there's problem number 6. AC is 4x plus 11. So this is 4x plus 11 right here. BC is 7x minus 1. So this is 7x minus 1 right here. CD is 30. So this is 30 right here. CE is 18. So this is 18 right here. We're supposed to find x. Okay. First of all, be careful. Don't go thinking that any of these are going to be congruent to each other. These triangles are similar. They are not congruent. So there's no reason to believe that 4x plus 11 will equal 30. All right? These are not necessarily congruent. Instead, we're going to do new over old equals new over old. And as I was doing before, I'm going to consider this to be the old triangle, and I'll consider this to be the new triangle. And again, let's talk about corresponding sides. So for example, the 7x minus 1 corresponds with 18. Okay? I can use the markings to help me see the double and the blank angle. And here I have a double and a blank. So these two are corresponding. So I should be able to make that into a fraction. So do I have space for this? All right, I'm going to make a fraction out of it. New over old. So that's going to be 18 over 7x minus 1. Equals. Now I need another pair of corresponding sides. All right, and that could be 4x plus 11 and 30. Those are corresponding sides as well. Single blank, they're corresponding. But when I write the fraction, again, I'm going to do new over old. So I'm going to do 30 over 4x plus 11. Okay, then I can cross multiply. Okay, so I'm going to do this times this and set that equal to this times this. All right, so that means I'm going to have 30 times 7x minus 1 is equal to 18 times 4x plus 11. Okay, 30 times 7 is 210. So I'll have 210x minus 30. All right, I'm just doing the distributive property. Okay, I'm going to need some help with this one. So 18 times 4. So that's going to be 72. $198. All right, time to solve some more. So I will subtract 72x from both sides. So that is going to give me 138x minus 30 is equal to 198. And then I will add 30 to both sides. So that's going to give me 138x is equal to 228. And then I need to divide both sides by 138. Wow, that is a crazy number. Wow, I think it did it twice for some reason. Okay, so let me see if I can get it to be a fraction. So I have 228 over 138. All right, so 38 over 23. I think we'll have to leave it like that. All right, let's do a couple word problems. Kim is 5.2 feet tall and has a shadow that is 6.5 feet long. Her dad is standing next to her and has a shadow that is 8 feet long. How tall is Kim's dad? So it's always good to get a diagram going. Okay, so here's sort of the ground, if you will. All right, and here is Kim's dad. And, well, and here's Kim. Okay, and they both are casting a shadow. All right, and that forms a triangle. And these two triangles are going to be similar. So let's see, Kim is 5.2 feet tall. And her shadow is 6.5 feet long. Her dad is standing next to her and has a shadow that is 8 feet long. How tall is her dad? So these are the similar triangles with their lengths. Okay, I'm going to call this the old triangle, and I will call this the new triangle. It really doesn't matter which one you call new and which one you call old, but when I set up my proportions, I always will do new over old is equal to new over old. So if I pick a pair of corresponding sides, look at their heights. New over old, that's x over 5.2. Okay, those are corresponding sides. And if I do their shadow lengths, all right, of course will be corresponding sides. New over old will be 8 over 6.5. So then we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to do multiply those, and then set it equal to multiply those. So that's going to be 6.5x is equal to 5.2 times 8, 41.6. Okay, then we need to divide both sides by 6.5. 6.4. 6.4 feet. All right, so her dad is 6.4 feet tall. Two isosceles triangles share a base. If one triangle has a vertex angle that measures 87 degrees, and the other triangle has a base angle that measures 37, that both have measures 37 degrees, find and label all missing angle measures. Okay, two isosceles triangles share a base. So here you go. So these are isosceles, which means that these sides will be congruent and these sides will be congruent. It also means that their base angles are congruent, so those will be congruent and these will be congruent. Okay, one triangle has a vertex angle that is 87 degrees, so I'll just pick this one and call it 87 degrees. The other triangle has a base angle that measures 37 degrees. Okay, so for example, this angle right here would be 37 degrees, which of course means that this angle right here will also be 37 degrees. Find and label all missing angle measures. Okay, I'm not sure that they even had to share a base for us to answer this question. Okay, well, anyway, all the angles inside of a triangle have to add up to 180. So if I look at the bottom triangle, for example, then I know it's going to be 180 minus the two 37s. So minus 37 minus 37. So that's 106. So one of the missing angles is going to be 106 degrees. So I guess I'll just write that down. Since they didn't give us letters or anything, so we have 166 degrees. Now what about these other two angles right here? Well, again, all of the angles have to add up to 180. So if I start with 180 and I subtract 87, whoops, okay, minus 87, that leaves me with 93 degrees. That's interesting. So I have 93 degrees left that need to be shared equally. So I need to take the remaining 93 degrees and I need to share with this angle and with this angle. All right? So of course sharing in this case means dividing by 2. So that's going to be 46.5. So I'm going to have two angles that are 46.5 degrees. Okay, so I had 106 degrees, and then I had 46.5 degrees, and I had another 46.5 degrees. All right, so those are the three missing angles for this problem. All right, in this final problem, they talk about triangle ABC, and we have point D is a midpoint, point E is a midpoint, point F is a midpoint, but they didn't draw it for you. So you just have to draw your own. So here's a picture of all the information they gave us. So first they ask which pairs of sides are parallel. Well, for example, DE is parallel to AC. Okay, EF is parallel to BA. And DF is parallel to BC. Alright, now we're to find some other missing sides. So, for example, AC. Well, if DE is 12, alright, the midsegment is 12, the parallel side should be double that. Alright, that's the midsegment theorem. So if this is 12, then AC is going to have to be 24. Let's see, what about BE? Well, if BC is 25.5, then BE is going to be half that because E is the midpoint. So it's just a matter of what's 25.5 divided by 2. Alright, so that's 12.75. Okay, we're asked for AF. Well, we just found that AC was 24. So AF must be 12. Okay, or you could just look at DE. Excuse me, we know that DE is half the length of AC, and AF is also half the length of AC. So of course, DE and AF should be the same. They're both 12. What about AD? Well, D is a midpoint, so if DB is 14, then AD must also be 14. What about EC? Well, EC and BE should be the same. They will both be 12.75. What about FC? FC and AF should be the same. So they will both be 12. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video. Click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.